I'm Sophia Miller, the younger one in the family, daughter of James and Sarah Miller. They were big names in the money world in a busy eastern city. Our family ran a huge money business, Miller and Company, dealing with buildings, stocks, and new companies. Everyone saw my parents as smart and important, always in the business magazines. My older sister, Emily Miller, was the family's pride. She was great at everything our parents wanted. After the best schools, she jumped into the money business with smart ideas. By her mid-20s, Emily was a top boss at the company, quickly handling big deals. She looked perfect, was very smart, and knew how to make money, so everyone saw her as the perfect Miller kid, the one who would take over. Me? I never really fit in. Even as a kid, I felt out of place around the numbers and long business meetings. My parents hoped I'd follow their path, but I didn't care about big money deals. I cared about clean energy and helping the environment, things my family didn't think were important. I studied environmental science, wanting to find better ways to use resources. When I said no to a summer job at Miller and Company and chose a small solar power company instead, my parents were very disappointed. They didn't say it, but their quietness and unhappy looks showed it. At family dinners, I usually just listened while my parents and Emily talked about money, and my ideas about the environment were seen as just hobbies. Emily never had to try hard for praise. She was exactly who our parents wanted me to be: strong, smart, and focused on making the family richer. She often seemed to pity me, sometimes saying I was wasting my time on things that didn't make money. I knew they thought I was just a dreamer who wouldn't achieve much. But I didn't need their approval. What I didn't expect was how much my life was about to completely change. Everything turned upside down with one phone call on a cold morning. I was at my job, finishing a report on saving energy, when my phone buzzed. It was Emily. She only called if it was serious. Sophia. Her voice was low, strained. Where are you? At the office. What's wrong? A long, quiet moment passed. Something was very wrong. Mom and Dad, she took a deep breath. They were in a plane crash. No one made it. I froze. Her words hit me hard, making me feel dizzy. No, that's not possible, my voice shook. Their private jet went down in the mountains on the way from the eastern city to a city out west. The news will be out soon. Even though I wasn't super close to my parents, hearing they were suddenly gone still shocked me. They always seemed so strong, so in charge, and now they were just gone. 3 days later, their funeral was held at a big church in the eastern city. Important people from the money world were there, praising James and Sarah Miller's careers. I just stood quietly on the side, still trying to understand they were really gone. But before I could even feel the sadness, something harder was waiting. 2 weeks after the funeral, I was called to the family lawyer's office for the will reading. The office was high up in a tall building downtown. When I got there, Emily was already sitting in a chair, looking calm. Across from us sat Mr. Davis, the family's longtime lawyer. He cleared his throat. First, my deepest sympathy to both of you, he said, getting to the point. According to the will of Mr. and Mrs. Miller, he looked over his glasses. All of Miller and Company S shares, properties in the eastern city and other places, and all the money and investments will go to Miss Emily Miller. Even though I expected this, hearing it felt like a punch. And as for Miss Sophia Miller, Mr. Davis continued, turning a page. I waited, a tiny hope inside. Maybe they left me something. You will inherit an old property in a quiet rural area of the southern state, previously owned by your grandfather, George Miller. It was quiet. I blinked. A property in the southern state? Emily let out a sharp laugh, not hiding her disdain. Well, isn't that interesting? She looked at me with a smile. Maybe Mom and Dad thought you'd be better at taking care of plants than running a money business. I squeezed my hands under the table. I looked at Mr. Davis, trying to keep my voice steady. Is that all? No company shares? No money. Mr. Davis looked at the papers. The Miller property, over 100 acres, along with some legal papers. He slid an envelope towards me. Nothing else. Emily folded her arms, her eyes shining. There you go, Sophia. If you want to live like a country person, go ahead. But if you ever need money, I'd be happy to help, for a fair price, of course. I just stared at the envelope, fighting my feelings. My parents truly believed I couldn't achieve anything. When I left the office, all I had was an old key and papers for an empty piece of land in the southern state. No shares, no valuable things, no place in the company. Just land my father called useless, a place no one talked about. But what bothered me most wasn't that the will was unfair. It was why they left me that property. Why the ranch? Was it their way of cutting me out, or was there something more I didn't know? As I walked out, I looked up at the gray sky of the eastern city, feeling a new strength. If this was all they left me, I would find out why. 3 days later, I flew to the southern state. After flying and driving for hours on dusty roads, I finally arrived. Miller Property. A faded wooden sign stood at the entrance. Beyond it, the land stretched out, vast and empty. Dry fields, spiky plants, and an old house stood alone. I got out of the car. There was no sign of life, just the wind. This is what my parents left me. I took a deep breath and walked towards the house. The wooden door creaked open to a dusty space that smelled of old wood. Inside, it was simple, everything covered, looking untouched for years, but strangely, still in place. As I walked down the hall, old photos on the wall caught my eye. One made me stop. A picture of my grandfather, George Miller, standing next to a large building that looked like a workshop. I didn't know much about him. My father always talked about him with disappointment, saying he wasted his last years chasing some silly idea out here. And then it hit me. If my father thought this place was useless, why didn't he sell it? I picked up the photo. My grandfather's eyes looked proud. But what really got my attention was the small writing at the bottom, Miller Research Building, 1987. A research building? Here? I went back outside looking around. In the picture behind my grandfather was a large metal building. I walked around searching, and then I saw it. About 200 meters from the house, among the dry plants, a large metal warehouse with a heavy door. It looked old, peeling paint, rust, and an old lock. Why would a warehouse on an empty property be locked? I took out the old key the lawyer gave me. Could this be it? I slid it in and turned. A soft click. The door creaked open, showing a dimly lit space inside. Sunlight came in, lighting up dusty shelves, metal boxes, and a desk. On the desk, old, yellowed papers lay untouched. I stepped inside, running my fingers along the desk. A worn leather notebook was on top, with a title, The Miller Project. My heart beat faster as I opened the first pages. Inside were detailed notes about a project my grandfather worked on, land tests, complicated math, and drawings of the ground. One word appeared over and over: lithium. I held my breath. Lithium, a super important element for rechargeable batteries, clean energy, and electric cars. One of the most valuable metals now. Had my grandfather been looking for lithium here? I quickly looked through the papers. A map of the property appeared with an area circled in red. Below it, my grandfather wrote, "Lots here. Big chance. Keep totally secret." My mouth felt dry, my mind racing. My grandfather found a lithium deposit right under this property, this place my father called useless. And my father probably never knew how valuable it was. I took a deep breath, looking around the warehouse. This wasn't just storage. It was where my grandfather hid a huge discovery. But why did he keep it secret? Why didn't he dig it up? And did anyone else know? I started to feel uneasy. I looked towards the setting sun. Maybe I had found a secret no one wanted me to know. I sat on an old chair in the warehouse, my hands shaking a little as I looked through my grandfather's papers. A lithium deposit. I knew about the growing market for batteries and clean energy. Lithium was needed for electric cars and energy storage. Its price had gone way up, and big companies were rushing to get it. My grandfather knew this decades ago, but why didn't he mine it? I sat thinking. Maybe he knew he couldn't fight my father, who only cared about quick money. Maybe he was scared the land would be taken over. Whatever the reason, this was my chance. I had to act fast. 3 days later, I left the southern state and went back to the eastern city. This time, I didn't feel lost. I had a plan. The first person I called was Mark Johnson, a lawyer who knew about protecting new ideas. I met him on a clean energy project. He was smart and kept things private. When I told him what I found, Mark was astonished. Sophia, if that's true, this could be one of the biggest lithium deposits in the country. I nodded. And I need to protect it before anyone else finds out. Mark agreed immediately. He suggested starting a new company, separate from the Miller name, to hold the rights. He started filing papers to protect my grandfather's method. The second call was to Dr. Lena Hansen, a ground scientist I worked with. If anyone could figure out how much lithium was there, it was Lena. I need you to fly to the southern state immediately, I told her. What's going on? You'll understand when you get here. 3 days later, Lena arrived with equipment. We spent 2 days checking the area and taking samples. When Lena came back with the results, I saw the excitement in her eyes. Sophia, you don't just have a lithium deposit, you have one of the richest lithium sources I've ever seen. I held my breath. If you mine it the right way, this could be a key source for the whole clean energy business. Hearing this confirmation gave me a huge rush. I had a chance to change everything, but I couldn't do it alone. Mining lithium was complicated and needed a lot of money. I knew who could help: Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson invested in new companies, known for bold deals in green technology. I met him at a clean energy conference. I arranged a meeting at a fancy hotel. As I explained what I found, Mr. Thompson was quiet for a long time. Sophia, he said finally, if these numbers are correct, you're sitting on something worth billions. I nodded. But what do you plan to do with it? I took a deep breath. I don't want to sell it to a big company just to ruin the environment. I want to do it the right way, the sustainable way, using my grandfather's research. I need funding to start. Mr. Thompson looked at me, then a smile spread across his face. He seemed to like my plan. All right, Sophia, he said. I'll invest $150 million. But you must keep complete control. If you let anyone else interfere, you'll lose everything. I clenched my fists. You have my word. A few weeks later, Horizon Energy Solutions was officially started, a new company with no ties to the Miller family, created to manage the lithium mining. I was ready. I knew Emily and my family would eventually find out, but this time, I wasn't the girl they ignored. This time I was in charge. 3 months after Horizon Energy Solutions launched, the clean energy market was paying attention. Our sustainable methods and pure lithium were noticed. We signed deals with top technology companies making batteries and electric cars. The biggest step came when we made a deal to supply lithium to a major electric car company and a big battery company. In just 6 months, the company's value shot up to over $1.2 billion. The news called us the game changer. Business News reported on an unknown company that became a key player in the global lithium supply. But the most important part, no one knew who was really behind it. From the start, I carefully hid who I was. Horizon Energy Solutions didn't use the Miller name. It was registered under a secret company name, keeping it far from my family. But secrets, especially big ones, can't stay hidden forever. One morning, as I sat in my office, looking at the latest report, my phone rang. Emily Miller. I stared at the name, knowing the difficult time I expected was here. Taking a deep breath, I answered. Sophia, her voice was slow and careful. I need to confirm something. I smiled, keeping my voice calm. What is it, Emily? Horizon Energy Solutions. Is that your company? She asked directly. I acted surprised. Why would you think that? Emily let out a quiet laugh. I asked around Sophia. This company appeared out of nowhere, has huge money, controls a rich lithium source, and it's on your land. I didn't say anything. Did you do this behind our backs? Her voice was sharper now. Did you find something Mom and Dad never knew about? I stayed calm. And if I did, Emily? Emily was quiet for a moment, then laughed softly. You're smarter than I thought, Sophia. I could picture her in her office, trying to stay calm but angry. I want to meet, she said. We should talk about a partnership. I chuckled. Are you sure this is a partnership offer, or just a way to take control? Don't be silly, Sophia. Her voice got sharper. I have the connections, the power. If you let me in, Horizon Energy Solutions could become huge. If not, I tilted my head. If not, what, Emily? I will find a way to take back what belongs to this family. I knew Emily wouldn't give up easily. 1 week later, Miller and Company filed a lawsuit against me. Their claim: my grandfather's things were family business and should be controlled by the company. They wanted me to hand over the lithium rights and merge my company into theirs. I laughed when I read the lawsuit. Did they really think I would give up? I expected this. When I started my company, my lawyer, Mark Johnson, created a strong legal setup. My land ownership was legal under my name. The lithium method rights were secret. Horizon Energy Solutions had no legal ties to the Miller family or Miller and Company. When my legal team responded, my family had no legal reason to win. Emily and the company bosses moved too late, and I knew it was making them furious. After 4 weeks of legal fights, the court dismissed the lawsuit. I had won. Horizon Energy Solutions remained completely mine, but I knew this was just the start. Emily wouldn't give up. I could picture her in her office, angry at the news headlines: unknown company challenges lithium leaders, Miller and Company. Fails to gain control. Now she knew I wasn't the unimportant girl they ignored. And I was sure Emily would find another way. But this time I was ready. 2 months after my family lost the lawsuit, I heard whispers that Emily was in serious financial trouble. Insiders said her careless decisions after failing to get control of Horizon Energy Solutions caused problems. Emily had made big bets on properties and old oil energy, an area losing ground to clean energy. Things got worse when the property market crashed and the oil business suffered. What seemed profitable turned into big money problems for Miller and Company. And then, something I didn't expect happened quickly. Emily was forced to sell her fancy apartment in the eastern city to cover losses and keep the company going. The same expensive apartment where she hosted important people, a symbol of her power. Now she had to sell it. But what Emily didn't know was I planned ahead. I expected this when I saw her investments failing. Through one of my secret companies, a private investment fund I set up, I quietly joined the bidding for the apartment. And as I expected, I bought it for less than half its original value. No one, not even Emily, knew the new owner was me. One late afternoon, as I was in my new apartment, my phone rang. Emily. I picked up, keeping my voice calm. What do you need, Emily? She paused briefly, then sounded confident again, though I heard desperation. Sophia, I know you're the one who bought my apartment. I smirked. Faster than I expected. Oh. I replied, pretending not to care. Would you be willing to sell it back to me? Emily asked, her voice steady, but I heard how desperate she was. I just need more time to sort my money. I'll pay the full price now. I looked out the window, enjoying this moment. My sister, who mocked me and thought I'd achieved nothing, was asking for help. I took a slow breath. Emily, do you remember when we were at the lawyer's office after Mom and Dad's funeral? Silence. You told me that if I ever needed financial help, you'd be happy to assist. With a fair price. I paused, letting my words sink in. Do you remember that? I asked softly. A long, quiet moment. Then her voice came back, quieter, but trying to sound in control. So you're saying no? I smiled, enjoying the victory. No, Emily. I'm just reminding you that things can change fast in the world. Then I hung up. After losing the apartment, Emily continued to struggle with her failing investments and problems at Miller and Company. The huge success of Horizon Energy Solutions caused investors to stop putting money into Emily's company. They saw where the future was. They put their money into clean energy, where I was leading. In less than a year, Emily, once in charge of a money empire, had to sell off more things just to keep the company going. And me? Horizon Energy Solutions was becoming a major force in the lithium business. I kept complete control, grew the business, created new ways, and secured more deals. I didn't need revenge. My success, built on something my family called worthless, was the clearest answer. One evening in winter, as I sat in the apartment that was once Emily's, I got a message from her. I was wrong about you, Sophia. But you've changed a lot too. If you ever want to talk, I'm still your sister. I stared at the screen. A part of me wanted to reply, but another part knew we weren't the sisters we used to be. Too much had happened. I spent my life wanting my family to see my worth, but now I didn't need it. Their validation didn't matter anymore. I set my phone down, stood up, got a glass of water, and looked out the huge window. The eastern city still shined, but this time, I wasn't in the shadows. I stood by the window of my new apartment, looking out at the city lights. The glow reminded me of the years I felt lost here. But now everything changed. I wasn't the girl my family ignored, the one left out, the one they thought was useless. I built my own important company from something they discarded, and no one could take that away. The phone on my desk vibrated. An email from my old high school, special invitation, guest speaker for this year's graduation ceremony. I raised an eyebrow and opened it. Dear Sophia, Principal Adams is getting graduation ready. We'd love to invite one of our most successful former students as our guest speaker. This year's theme is Finding Value in What People Don't See. We believe your story will inspire many students, especially those who feel underestimated or not noticed. We hope you can attend. Sincerely, Principal Adams. I stared at the screen. Finding value in what people don't see. I laughed quietly. A theme that fit my story perfectly. I had been overlooked, underestimated by my family, seen as an outsider. And yet, from the land they gave up on, I built a billion-dollar company, changed the lithium business, and became a strong force in clean energy. I no longer needed my family's approval. My success spoke for itself. 2 weeks later, I stood on the stage at my old high school graduation. Hundreds of students sat below. Some old teachers were there. I stepped up to the podium, feeling everyone's eyes. Taking a deep breath, I began. Hello, everyone. My name is Sophia Miller, and many years ago, I was sitting exactly where you are now. Murmurs spread. Maybe some heard my name in the news. When I was a student here, I believed that to succeed, I had to follow the path others set for me. If I didn't fit their idea of success, I thought I'd achieve nothing meaningful. But I was wrong. The room became quiet. I continued, my voice stronger. I was underestimated. My family owned a major money business, and they believed if I didn't follow their path, I'd accomplish nothing significant. When my parents passed away, my sister inherited everything. And me. I paused, looking at the audience. They left me an old property in the middle of the southern state, a place they considered useless. Some students chuckled, others looked surprised. They thought it was worthless. They believed I could do nothing with it. But they were wrong. I let my words sink in. I refused to let others decide my worth. Instead of complaining, I looked deeper into what I had, and I found out it wasn't worthless at all. I looked at the front row where my old teachers listened. It turned out the land they dismissed as useless contained one of the richest lithium sources in the country. Because of that, I built a billion-dollar clean energy company, becoming a key supplier for big technology companies. Some students gasped, others whispered. Why am I telling you this? I asked. I'm sharing my story so you understand your worth isn't decided by others. Even if you feel overlooked, even if you think you're not good enough, even if your path looks different, don't ever let anyone convince you can't achieve something great. Sometimes the things that seem worthless hold treasures only you can see. I looked at the audience, seeing inspiration in some eyes. Maybe one felt overlooked like I did. And maybe someday, they would find their own treasure. I took a deep breath, closing my speech. And finally, if anyone has ever told you can't do something great, remember this. Success is the clearest answer. The auditorium erupted in applause. I smiled and stepped off the stage. Today, I didn't need my family's approval. I had validated myself.